And welcome to episode 10 of Heroes Untapped. This is coming off a huge weekend. Obviously, we had the NA, or the North American Championships on the weekend, where our very own Team Immunity were fighting for a spot at BlizzCon. And then so we're talking about the recap of that. And tonight we've got a cool lineup of guests. We've got Shy from Team Immunity, we've got Blue from XL5, we've got Cruven from Apex, and a super awesome guest as well. We've actually got Babel on the show. So it's welcome to the show, everyone. First off, Babel, how are you going? How was North America?
Wow, it was hot. It was it was crazy hot. I mean, you're in Vegas, you're in the desert. It's just crazy hot, and the temperature between the weather outside and inside this convention halls is really crazy. It's ridiculously cold inside. It's ridiculously cold outside. So. Yeah. Transitionally, there's a little bit crazy, and weather was just harsh. But overall, a great experience. America Championship was something that I think will stick in my mind for a very long time. It's something that that I feel like there's just this great epic element to that. So enjoyed it tremendously.
Yeah, it definitely was a really awesome production to watch on the live stream as well. So Shai, you were there also. Tell us about your experience at NA. Same thing, hot, cold, hot, cold.
Well. It was hot outside, but we were actually inside for most of the time, and it was really, 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 really cold in the players' area, like especially where the computers were. So like half the time we actually had jumpers on. If we didn't have jumpers on, we were like shivering. Yeah. So America as a whole, I don't know. I'm not really a fan because like you have to tip people. People were really rude. It was just it sucked in that regard, but everything else is pretty good. Like the actual teams and the players and stuff, they were awesome. And then like the casters and the event was awesome as well. So it sucks that we lost, but it was fun. It was really fun.
Well, you definitely came up against a pretty big opponent in your game one, up against Cloud9. And they did go to win the NA Championship, so I guess you can feel a little bit of relief in there that you didn't get 2-0'd by just some other guy that got knocked out. But just introducing other guests as well. So Cruven and Blue, welcome to the show. Bit of seasoned veterans. It's not your first times on. It's about your third or fourth time each. Did you guys watch any of the NA Championships yet? Did you watch it live? Did you stay up to 3 o'clock in the morning to check it out?
I thought it started at 2, so I was floating around at 2, jumping in the ANZ chat, going, "Hey guys, when's the game starting?" And they're like, "It starts at 3." Should have gone to bed. got a couple of hours sleep, but no. I was sat up, watched it. It was good.
I tried to catch the games that I could, just around getting up at 9 o'clock. Normally I ended up coming in for the last games of the series, so I haven't had an opportunity to go back yet and watch all of the immunity games. That's definitely my to-do list.
Yeah, definitely the immunity game against Murloc Geniuses I think was a really good set to watch. That's definitely a highlight of the tournament for me, watching Team Immunity compete. And they're right. So moving straight on to that, we've already started talking about the NA Championships. So let's continue on that track. So the entire event was taken out by Cloud9. I believe Tempo Storm were the tournament favourites, but Cloud9 just coming in, just playing really well, just performing really well in that LAN environment, and just doing. You can't really say anything more than they just played really good games. What were you guys' opinions of the event itself, particularly the production value of it? I mean, that was some pretty high production or money that was going into the event. But Cruven, so you watched the final ones itself, final of the day. If you compare that to like the Australian scene and compare it to the European scene, I mean the production value was just huge.
I'd say it's a big stark contrast to the MSI MGA games that we saw. The production quality, having music blaring during the games, and it was really nice the way that they handled the team introductions, and the casters were generally pretty knowledgeable about the majority of stuff. Needed more Babel though.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. For me, I think the production was really good. I was really impressed. By the way, this is the same stage as BlizzCon last year, if I'm not wrong. It's the same. The layout's exactly the same and all. Lightings and all. They actually have a lot of attention to detail. Like when, say for example, when the team goes and pick up the temple, So the live audience will see, that there's this temple guardian shooting lasers out of his eyes and everything.
Yeah.
And on the other side, the team that is getting wrecked by those laser beams will have those smoky effects and all. It looks really good for the live audience. Not sure if you guys could catch it on stream, but every single time an objective swings one way, you will realize the camera will get out of the the full screen mode, and you'll see a bit of the stage. I think they were just trying to showcase that to you guys.
Yeah.
But it came off it's a little bit too much. Sometimes there were fight going on, and that part was a little bit bad. But apart from that, I think that the whole stage was really good. The audience is insane. The crowd there is they were screaming for small kills, big plays.
Yeah.
The volume is just consistent all the way. Whenever there's action, these guys are going wild. And I think that in terms of production, really, it's really impressive that the matches were also back to back. There's very little downtime, and I think that this is a credit to all the crew and everyone who organized this whole show. I've done a lot of good live events myself in terms of organizing and everything, but it's always hard to get people to listen to you. And here, they made sure that there's only 3 minutes window in between every single game, and that's very consistent. So that's what helped keep the viewership high. So those are some really good production.
Yeah, it was sort of exactly right. Watching it on the stream, just like very back-to-back games straight in, that was really good to see. And yeah, it wasn't boring. We have a lot of issues in Australia for some of our tournaments where there is a bit of a drag out between the games, even just between the matches in the games themselves. So that's just really good high production. Shai, how did you feel about that? Obviously doing a lot of ANZ tournaments, but then going across to NA in this high production environment. How did it feel for you getting into those games? What do you think, was it better for you guys or worse?
I think honestly, I mean for me, because I've experienced that before on stage because I went to Germany for LOL, so it didn't really affect me. But I think some of the other guys, it affected a little bit. I think they were a little bit nervous about playing on stage and stuff, because for most of the guys, that was actually their first LAN ever. So yeah, I think it affected them a little bit. But I think once we got into the groove of things. Versus MG, especially in the second game, they sort of started blocking out the stage environment. I want to say, like, in regards to accommodating players, Blizzard did a really, really good job with us. So, like, when I played in Germany for LoL, like, you had 5 players and we literally had no room. Like, it was very cramped and we felt rushed and everything. Blizzard, like, they give us ample time to prepare. Like they just want what's best for the players. Like the desk that we were on, like there was a lot of space. So on that side, it was really good. Drafting was actually done. So on the first game of every best of 3 or best of 5 that you saw, the first initial draft was actually done backstage to save time, and then all the drafting that you saw on stream. It was actually probably a 1 minute to 2 minute delay. So when you see us standing up and then you see us sitting down, but the draft hasn't finished yet, that's the delay.
Oh, okay.
So when you're seeing us standing up and then we're sat down, when we're sat down, the draft's actually finished, but there's the delay on the stream.
Yeah.
And again, I think that's good just to let the players prepare and let the observer to prepare and everything like that. So yeah, I mean, and production-wise as well, like Babel said, like there's very little downtime, like consistent games to keep the stream numbers up. I think it was really, really well run. The only thing that I like really, 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 really despised was that pause between COG and C9, which like totally screwed COG's momentum, and they went on to lose that game, the first game.
Yeah.
And that's because like an observer knocked a keyboard off the table or something, which shouldn't have happened. But besides that, everything was like really good. So
yeah. Oh, it's I'll tell you what, it was incredible to watch, and even just hearing these little things about how it happened, how they were so smooth with that. I mean, that's a pretty cunning plan there. Do the draft before seeding effectively, so you guys have more time to prepare and stuff like that. It's what about you guys? Are so Blue and Cruven. Well, watching the stream, what were you guys your opinions on the stream itself as a whole?
I think they got. Yeah, I think they really covered everything, and it is such a stark contrast to the Australian scene in terms of any tournaments or even New Zealand. I've been to quite a few tournaments across Australia, and yeah, it's normally nowhere near as organized, and you can see just like the amount of experience Blizzard's had running tournaments in the past with all their games that it's really showed through, and it's maybe one day we'll have something like that. Maybe if we when Babel hits a jackpot and becomes a billionaire and he starts investing in the Australian and Southeast Asian scenes.
Oh God.
I think I agree with all the points so far. It was just really nice to sit down and watch. The lack of downtime between the games was, I think, one of the favorite things for me. It was just pretty much constant action. The casters were all really hyped and all knew what they were talking about. So, yeah, it was just really pleasant to watch.
Actually, how did that sort of go? Talking about the casters there, Babel. Were a lot of these casters new people that you'd worked with? This was the first event working with them, or were some of them that you saw in the NA Open a couple of weeks?
Okay, so I've casted with Jake before in the August Open. Primarily, it was him and Jester. Jester was not at the event, but Jake was. So casting with Jake again was just getting the groove back and everything going on as well.
Yeah.
I think Jake, because there's this new observer interface, so we didn't really have the time to go through all of the talents. It's kind of hard to pick off things that we spot based on talents.
Yeah.
Because we don't have the time. Also, the crowd there, they're kind of a little bit more generic, and we want to make sure that the viewers who are not so hardcore would be able to understand the game. That's the main reason why that the casters, as much as we want to talk about in-depth stuff, we tried our best to not go too directly into talents.
Yeah.
We were told this is the creative direction of the show back in August. And for the other two casters that I did the games with was, I think, Kubi and Gilly. That was actually my first time casting with Gilly and Kubi.
Yeah.
So that's something that's very new and very fresh, and we were just figuring things out as the games went on.
Yeah.
Hence, I would say that Jake, he's a fantastic guy to cast with. He has the ability to level up the things that you say and play off the jokes that you make, and he just feels very comfortable and all. Kubi is just like this whole monster of insights, and everything that you talk to him about, he can just nicely point it out. He also has got the best understanding of historical data, I think, out of all of the other casters there. Gilly is just exciting. She's just always hyped up on the ball. And so what I did with Kubi is that we decided that he's going to go 100% into insights, and I'm going to do the play-by-plays. So he will only chip in when there's like a big play and all, and I think that played out really well. But for me and Gilly, we tried something a little bit different. We were a little bit risky and all. We were taking a little bit of a huge turn of things to go about, so to speak. We decided that since we were both play-by-play, we're also hyped out and exciting. In our cast, we decided that we're not going to specifically assign a role. Like, I'm not going to be play-by-play, she's not going to be insights. What we're going to do is, if a fight's happening, we'll take it and we'll pass it around to each other. So that's something that we did, and it kind of got a little bit good, and people enjoyed that a lot. And when there's insights, there was discussion going on. We were sharing stuff about what we think about those games, about those talent tiers, and what the team should be doing. So there's discussion as well as a very good exchange of play-by-play. So that's the strategy me and Gilly did, and I think that it's a little bit different from every of the other pairings. But in general, casting with all these talented people is just really humbling for me because, there's no lack of casters there. We're all very clear. They can speak better than I can. And in terms of the way that they cast these games, in terms of insights, they are there. They live there. They breathe there. They know the games. They watch the screens. I don't. So the information that I get access to is only tournament information, and that may be a little bit irrelevant to a big event like this. So as you can see, big plays and strategies got pulled off by Tempo. They went back to the old school Asmodan and everything like that. People just don't know what to expect. And myself included, I went into this event thinking that we're going to be very similar to August. But boy, I was wrong because MGA happened. And MGA is just like this big Korean key to all of these Americans' minds, and they just unlocked everything. It's like, wow, you can do this with Raynor. Wow, much of the Black King Lyric, really? And everyone was like, okay, we're going to play things very differently. And to be very honest with you, I didn't really check out Korean meta, I think about a week before the event, because I was there, I was just, doing all the preparation for the America Championship. But the the game that Cognitive ran, the Protect the Illidan strategy,
Yeah.
there was something that was ran in OGN as well. And it was a little bit sad that we were not able to point that out during the games, but it was after the games that we realized, all right, this is something that Koreans have done before, and it's sick. Because the 50% spell reduction makes Illidan a god, and that's something that Trixler pointed out post-game, and I was really happy he did that. But yeah, in general, casting there was really fun with people who know what they're doing, and it's just a great experience for me.
Just listening to the way you guys cast it, it sounded like you guys had worked for years. I mean, it was just so, from my perspective anyway, it was just so fluent and just rolled off the tongue. You guys did such a great job. But just you're bringing up the sort of Korean meta there. And I'm Sean, I remember in one of the interviews at the NA, you guys were talking about you've been watching a lot of the Korean scene to pick up some of their strategies and meta and bring it over to the NA. So how do you think that went for you guys in the tournament? Do you think that was that meta sort of helped you, prepared you guys a lot better than what you would have been? Or do you think that was sort of maybe a bit of a thorn in your side going there just after we sort of had the MGA happen?
Nah, we didn't really like we watched a lot of Korean games, but I don't think we really adopted their comps or their gameplay into our own gameplay. Because like in the lead up to the games on Saturday, the Koreans were running like triple warrior all the time, and like we realized that we'd made a big mistake in that we suck at running double warrior and triple warrior, because literally probably 90% of the time we ran it in scrims, we just failed with it. And that's because like we've got Rob, who's really good on warrior, but then like we just half-heartedly put Sashin and Anigan and Nayu on like the second or the third warrior, and it just didn't, like, they hadn't practiced it properly, so it just failed every time. And even like third game against MG, for whatever reason, we were like, oh yeah, like, Shy, you play Malfurion because Anigan isn't comfortable on it, and Anigan go play Arthas when he hadn't practiced it once whilst we were in America. And like, if you watch the replay, it was just a like really big mistake on our part. So yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, we didn't really adopt anything from Korea. We just sort of watched Korean games and we were like, oh my god, these guys are gods. But apart from that, that's all we took from Korea.
Yeah, I just remember watching one of your little interview videos between the games. Sort of commented on that. You guys watching a lot of the Korean games.
I think like the biggest thing we took for them is what like we should be prioritizing. Like the top 4 or 5 heroes at the moment. But then that sort of changed when we versed the American teams, because they were running like Arthas Terran fucking every game, and like we just couldn't deal with it with what the Koreans were picking. So we sort of like just ditched that.
Ditched those sort of plays, strategies. Oh, no.
Was it the first game you guys picked Thrall?
Yeah, so like against C9, Nay was like, alright, just pick me Thrall and I'll carry, right? And we were all like, alright, just don't get picked. And then literally 20 seconds into the game, Sashin gets picked. And then like, the issue, so our game plan, right, was we were like, alright, we'll get to level 10 and we can rape them, right? Like we can beat them in team fights. But the issue is like, I've just got iDream and K1 on Tyrande and Kerrigan just fucking like walking into my lane as Nazebo.
Yeah.
Like you were watching, right? Like I wouldn't even be a quarter up the lane and he's just jumping in, comboing me and killing me. Like I can't, like I didn't know what to do, because like whenever I like moved up slightly, I died. And the reason why that happened is because we had no pressure on the map, because literally if you saw every single lane was passive, and when you have no like map presence or like zero aggression in all 3 lanes, the enemy team's just going to walk all over you. Like obviously C9's way better than us and that's why it happened, but like yeah, and that's why like when people looked at our comp and looked at their comp, they were like, what is Immunity doing? Because like our comp can't fight their comp in any capacity before 10. So that's why me and Young just consistently died.
Yeah.
And then second game, like I'll be honest, we just picked mines because we scrimmed relics and we like ran this stupid Sonya. We ran this stupid Sonya Kerrigan no tank comp, and it worked. So we were like, oh guys, let's just cheese C9. It'll work, right? And like, we just like Nay missed one combo on Arthas, and he didn't die. And then from there, they just turned around and fucked us, and like the game was over from there. Literally like one mistake, and it was over. Like we couldn't snowball. So yeah, like. We learned. I don't know about the guys, but I learned a lot from those games. And like C9, I learnt K1 Pro's a god. Like that guy is a living god. So, yeah.
Sorry, the main reason I ask about Thrall is because we were discussing the differences in meta, and down here we never see Thrall picked. I don't think I've ever seen it in any of the scrims or tournaments. Did you kind of learn and pick up Thrall whilst you're over there playing with the teams, or
well, basically,
where did that kind of come into play?
So Nay's always had a hard on for Thrall. Like it's his favorite hero, right? And when we went to NA and we started scrimming, MG was literally behind us in the practice area. And when we looked behind us, we saw them run Thrall a couple of times, and we were just like, oh, so the NA teams are playing Thrall. Let's like try Thrall, right? And even though we actually had only practiced Thrall maybe once in a scrim. Nay was like, no, trust me. This is the game. This is the game that Thrall is like gonna do work. We get to 10 and like we're not too far behind. I will carry with my ults, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, like we just got fucked before we even got 10, so it didn't work out.
I love the confidence, but
yeah, no, Nay was like, yeah, let's do it. But yeah, that's like there was no deeper meaning behind the Thrall pick. It was literally like. Nay's always loved Thrall. We saw NA play it a little bit, so we were like convinced it was a good pick. And yeah, it actually would have been a decent pick if like me and Sashin didn't get raped in the early game. But yeah.
Yep. It was kind of. I had to admit, it was cool when I started get picked because I love Thrall. He's one of my homies. I'm a little bit of a Chris Metzen fan in that regards. All right. So actually, just talking a lot about immunity. What about we'll talk a little bit about relics, Babel, because we got you in the show. How did you feel your boys fared?
To be very honest, I think the team and myself were very disappointed with the results. Relics, they felt like they got cheesed in the game against Cognitive, and it's kind of true because you're playing a very specific lineup to counter mages and AoE damage, and it's just that they got outdrafted in terms of mechanics as well. They feel like, I don't know, the team's just respond to the post event was that half of the team thinks that mechanically they're not as good, and this is because of the scene. While SEA has got a pretty big scene in that sense, we are nowhere as close to being as big as NA in terms of the top level of place as well as the amount of tournaments we have. I have to remind you guys, we've got like 6 weeks of no tournaments before America Championship. I think it applies to immunity as well. And the lack of tournaments really hamper the team's ability to train. Scrims can only bring you so far, but in scrims, when nothing's on the line, you lose the level lead at level 10, you're like, okay, I'm done. We're just going to start feeding a little bit. And what's the point? Some teams, they treat it a little bit seriously, but still, scrims, after you're down like 3 to 4 games, you're like, we're done. And you don't have that feeling. Tournaments is a different thing. You have something to play for. The attitude is very different. So for Relics, they felt very disappointed that they didn't. I think that generally they were just disappointed they're not able to take a game away from Cognitive or Complexity. They were so prepared to go even against Tempo Storm that I think the preparation against Cognitive and Complexity was lacking a little bit. They were prepared to take down Tempo Storm. And the reason why I say Tempo Storm is because this is a team that was on tilt for 2 weeks, and you could see that it's very clear even in the finals that they were on tilt. They were playing very I think sloppy plays in general. No discredit to good players in the team. I think Dreadnought did his best, but there are certain players there that could have played a little bit differently, could have played a little bit safer and stuff like that. I feel that the team needs to work on a lot of things before they can really go to BlizzCon and say that they're the best. But they are a naturally talented team, so that's what's going for them. Plus, Senior NA is pretty big. They were scrim partners with Cognitive, I think, and that kind of worked out well. It was either Cognitive or Complexity. But by the way, for you guys who didn't know this, Cloud9 was not scrimming Tempo Storm for the last few months. So the word I got from the Twitch party was that both teams have decided that they're going to start screaming each other now because they want to take down Korea. So that's really good for Americas. And back to the scream point, Relics, they were screaming Bibinka majority of the time, and shout out to Bibinka, but in terms of level between Bibinka and complexity and cognitive, it's just there's quite a bit of a difference there. And this is scene related, it's not a team related thing. So Relics, they went there, they played very reactionary based drafts. They were not really playing the drafts that they were very known for. They were playing drafts that they think could win cognitive or could win complexity. And clearly, when you play drafts that are not really trained up and you were just there to play, to react, and generally try and adapt, there's that chance the mechanics is going to lose you the game. And I think it's pretty clear at this point in time that ANZ and SEA, our mechanics are just not as clean as these Americans. They were able to really outplay us, and it's the same between Americas as well as Korea. There's that level of mechanics there that just amaze you, and that results in very wide adaptations. So for Relics, they were disappointed, but I think that they finished in a position that was the least expected because they just won Furious and came in 5th and 6th. Furious is a last minute team, and it's hands down that everyone was expecting to win Furious. They swapped out the roster before the event. It's a brand new roster, by the way.
Yeah.
So if you don't win a team like that, I'm not saying they're a bad team, but what I mean is that if you don't win a team like that, something serious is happening to your team. So winning Furious is okay. I think Shy, you guys screamed against Furious as well, right? Did you?
Only 2 games, yeah.
Yeah, and it was like 5-level lead anyway. So
yeah.
It was pretty clear Furious is going to finish, in 7th and 8th place. So Relics, they really wanted to take a game off Cognitive, but Cognitive with that Illidan strategy was, I think the first game was a big question, and some misplays by Relics, players getting caught out off guard, cost them the game. And after that, game number 2 was just really them trying to say Illidan's not a problem, and their mentality is a problem because you're like, hey, this is not a problem for us, and they just didn't remember how to take down Illidan. One of the good ways to take down Illidan was what Complexity did, Asmodan, with All Shall Burn talent. It's very, very strong. It forced the disengage immediately, takes down the shield quickly. But, and that guy is like a beefcake. It's hard to take down Asmodan. And Relics look at that game and they're like, how do we lose the Illidan and not think of Asmodan? It's like, this is fundamental draft problem. And teams, you have this problem when you're nervous, when you're one game down. You look at the draft and you're like, you completely forget what some of the ways to counter a strategy because you're so tunnel vision on, okay, this is Cognitive, we need Uther. This is Cognitive, they have melee assassins, let's handle that with range assassins. That train of thought was basically the reason why they lost Cognitive. And against Complexity, the same thing happened. The first game, blew their confidence away. The second game, consistent 2-level lead. You know who's going to win at the end of that. So I feel like it's really just them being a little bit too tunnel vision on the draft, as well as the execution's not up to point. But everyone in SEA is really disappointed. Plus, I think even the viewers were a little bit disappointed. But all this shows is that we need to grow our scene first before we can even think about natural talent. Because this game, talent may bring you to a certain level, but you really need to have mechanics at the end of the day, and that comes with training. So
Yes, the persistence from training will always trump talent, is what I say. But just a thing. So that's the NA Championships. I think we've talked about heaps of really good conversation. Congratulations, huge congratulations out to Cloud9 for taking out the NA Championships and runners up Tempo Storm, and for the other teams that did make it there. Obviously, everyone tried their best. No one just sort of like tilted from the event, and so I just think it was a great event all around. Well done, Blizzard. That's what esports and Heroes of the Storm should be. That's what all the big tournaments should be like. All right, moving on. So not only did we have the NA Championships this weekend, but we also had the XL5 monthly brawl on as well. And it was an interesting tournament because normally we have Immunity around, and we also have XL5, to some of the biggest juggernauts in the ANZ scene. However, this time Immunity was off at the NA Championships, and XL5 originally was wasn't looking like they were going to enter, and then they didn't have quite their normal roster because they're going through a couple of player changes at the moment. And so everyone was looking at tournament favourites Apex to taking out and win the Brawl. But XL5 just fielded an interesting group of players and just really impressive to watch. I mean, I think that's one of the best games I've ever seen is Apex versus XL5 came out of this September Brawl. But because we had XL5 immunity in theory out, we actually saw the scene almost grow exponentially and had a whole bunch of new teams form as well that look like they're sticking around. So that's Cruven. Can I get as a member of Apex? What did you think of the Brawl on the weekend? The starting gig before the North Americans.
It's really actually really difficult for us on those day tournaments just because one of our main players, Kangorth, has a night shift job. So he left for work. He would have woken up at about 4 p.m. the day beforehand and then left for work and got home at 5 in the morning and then stayed up until we started competing at 10. So by the time we started to play against X5, he was falling asleep. So that always makes it a bit difficult. Yeah. So we're not actually 100% sure if we're going to be continuing to participate in the X5 Brawls or the ANZ Showdown because it's just, it's a hassle. We don't want to have a sub in. It affects performance. But it was a bit rough for us. We choked pretty hard in the finals. Didn't play our drafts very well. I guess also it's just, we didn't attack their comfort picks early enough and hopefully they'll start scrimming us so we can actually get some practice against Kaver and Skimmy, seeing as I don't think we've scrimmed them. Last time would have been maybe 3 or 4 weeks before the ANZ qualifiers, and that's the last time I've seen them scrim. And then Shy got a full-time job, so we weren't able to practice much against Immunity before they left. I think it was maybe 3 weeks leading up before they left. We weren't able to get any scrims with them. Yeah.
All right, and Blue, it's Tell us about XL5. So XL5 is still going through roster changes, but they seem to have gotten some extra stand-ins for the day. Obviously, yourself, you are in essence a member of XL5, but not a playing member of XL5. How was that? How was it to get back into the saddle playing with familiar team members again?
I personally just love playing with KVA and Ninja. I loved playing with Skimmy and Zekken too, but I find I get along really well with KVA and Ninja. So, just being back in it, playing in a kind of fierce environment was really, really good. And just because I haven't played with him in a competitive environment except for one tournament, it was cool to see how they've developed their communications and shot calling and the way they rotate and draft their heroes. And a lot was still similar to the old days, but it was just a lot of fun. And I had heaps of fun playing with him.
Yeah, it was good to get back into it. It's watching it, that looked like a pretty strong lineup, like a pretty strong set of players in the XL5 lineup. And I mean, you guys just dominated all your games in going to the grand final. And even the grand final, you just really dominated. It's almost like, I know Skimmy wasn't a part of it and still looking for your 2 members, but it's like, wow, these guys are pretty good. Maybe this should be XL5.
Well, X5 have been trialing people for quite a while now, and they're really looking for just the right mix to recomplete their roster. Yeah. It's better to just kind of get the key players the first time round rather than having to keep swapping out players, causing issues with other people, and just get off with a nice fresh start and go hard. So I think they're starting to narrow things down a little bit, but they've definitely picked players. They've got the players that they want in their sights. So already, even if the people that were playing on the day aren't as mechanically skilled as they would like or aren't up to their level, they still mesh and merge really well with the team, which is why they were playing on the day. So, they're off to a good start, and I'm sure we're going to see some great things out of X5 in the future.
Yeah. All right. Is that, I also saw Azura from the Phonetic Ray in there. Is he switching sides or just subbing for the day?
Not sure. We'll have to get him on here. Drill him.
That's it. We'll start the rumor now. It's Starving, the other caster of the day, kept saying that Skimmy's out, so maybe Azura is the replacement.
Could be.
Start the rumors. Anyway, so it's a huge huge thanks to Starving. Promoter's probably one of the most favourite casters in the ANZ scene at the moment. He was the last pickup for the event because it was possibly not going to be casted at all. And he stepped up and said, he'd love to give it a go. And he just didn't give it a go. He was a great caster. He was great for the event. Just have to say huge thanks. It's we tried Babel, but he was preoccupied that weekend.
Oh, I'm so sorry about that.
but
yeah, well, if there's anything you guys want to cover, or I'll be happy, man. I'll be happy to cover more. SEA, ANZ, Asia, Korea. I think Korea is pretty okay. They've got good casters there. Like Testosis is there, and they're really doing their best to get more information about the game and playing there a little bit more. But Asia is a black hole of information. So. Want to see if I can tap into that market. But anyway, we were talking about the XL5 monthly brawls, right?
Yeah.
This is a fantastic format, actually. And one thing that I thought about that could really help all of us level up the scene is if teams start sharing, strategies on how they win to each other. I know it's a little bit sketchy because, locally, you want to do your best, you want to win, you want to maintain to have that lead there. But it's stuff like that that really helps you measure up against NA. And assuming that the format for BlizzCon next year is the same, which will be a little bit painful for both this region, we're going to have to do things a little bit differently. So you realize that Cloud9 and Tempo Storm, they're going to start screaming each other a little bit. They're going to start leveling up each other. So it'd be great if teams start sharing between teams. And new teams even. And I feel that education is the biggest problem for a region because of a lack of consistent content. In the NA, they've got great influencers that share strategies. They've got Blinks doing analysis videos. For us, we don't have that. So, maybe it's time to really either jump on the bandwagon to say, this is a great player from NA, let's look at how they do things, or let's look at it and say that we should have someone in our region that does that analysis, that insights, and be known for doing that. I think that's a great step forward. But still, XL5 monthly brawl is something that SEA doesn't have. So we are actually pretty sad people in Southeast Asia for now. But yeah, great tournament, by the way. Glad to know there's new faces and very happy to see them around.
All right, so Shah's going back in. Not too easy. The X5 brawls has really been a big staple in the ANZ scene, and I think that's what's really kept it alive in the last 12 months. It's just that consistent competition's been going on. Actually, I say 12 months. I don't know if it's been running for 12 months yet. But you bring that up about sharing information between the two regions. I've always wondered what more the SEA and ANZ regions can actually do together for each other. I know the pings an issue, so even from a sense of scrimming it can be a bit hard in that regards, but I've always thought in the back of my head, man, would it be really cool if we had our own event for our area, something like say the MGA, but somehow set up the four best teams from ANZ and the four best teams from SEA meet up somewhere and do a LAN event. I mean, I think that'd be incredible, and just really
that'd
start
to
is that
Are you
something?
going to concur? Everyone's flights? You're going to cover everyone's flights?
Well, I mean, that's the issue. But I mean, if the event can be done big enough or grown big enough, why not me? But why not? Why not get this proper sponsors involved in it? I mean, we have sponsored teams in the area. Maybe there's something. Maybe instead of the I don't know. I mean, it's a huger project than thus what Disconcur says on his little mini show once a week. But I mean, I think there's a huge gap of information that both regions can share and really learn something.
I think the biggest issue is at the moment we don't have the same viewership that you have or market share that you have in NA or EU.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of incentive for sponsors, especially in a developing scene, to pour money into it or to send out their teams to fly to events.
Yeah.
It's even at the moment, I'm sure X5 and Immunity probably aren't getting in more than maybe some VoIP service or something like that for their teams to hang out on while they're competing.
Yeah, it's definitely a long-term project. It's not something I'd say let's do it for December, the Christmas SEA ANZ tournament.
The first step I mean, the first step could be like sometime next year with the scene getting a little bit bigger, at least in ANZ. We could be like, well, there's a tournament in Sydney, like a LAN event. Why don't we hijack it and make it a Heroes of the Storm thing? Everyone that can fly to make it there, fly and go. Like, it's something that I did when I was playing competitive TF2. Like, we had about 40 or 50 teams and we competing, we maybe would have 80 to 90 people flying in for these events. So, I mean, like, I can't see why we can't have that happen in the ANZ scene. We just find out where the majority of players are based, if they're in Sydney or Melbourne, and then we have the event there, and then have the people fly in for it, and just have a big LAN event.
Start.
I think it's a good idea. This concur. I think that the first step is contacting Blizzard in ANZ. They should have a branch there, or at least people in charge of the market. Talk to them and share your idea, and you can also find out key information from Blizzard, like how community events are being ran in ANZ and stuff like that. Using that as a platform, then the community can work very closely with the developers themselves and see how that takes to the next level. But I do like the idea a lot. Maybe having 4 teams from each region is a little bit too big. Yeah, it's a little bit too expensive. But what we're doing is we have a very unofficial event that is like, okay, it's an official event, but not disclosed. Undisclosed official event that's happening in December for SEA. We're having a cross-border tournament between SG and MY. And the format's not planned out yet, but even then we're looking at only 2 teams from Singapore and 2 teams from Malaysia, and that's like flights cheap, hotels cheap, and we still don't have the ability to say we're gonna go ham and put like 8 teams together. If you realize the SEA finals, we flew teams out to Thailand. It was only 4 teams. 3 from one from Philippines, Malaysia, and Singapore. And Thailand, those guys live there, so it's gonna be very hard to say we're gonna do things big, but it's a great direction. Maybe you could start with a show match, 1 team from SEA, 1 team from ANZ, and see how that goes. But I think that it's I think it's a great idea, and I cannot wait for that. It will be fun. It'll be hyped.
Yeah, it's definitely something I'd like to try and work towards as well. So I don't know, maybe keep in contact and see what we might be able to do behind it. So I guess just on that little bit on that note, where we got. So I was going to talk about that. We got a couple of other events coming up in the ANZ scene. I might just skip ahead because it might be something that's of interest to people. So something I've been working on for a while is actually an ANZ Heroes community website. Something that can just be as like a central gathering point for stuff happening in the ANZ regions. Events, tournaments. Even content creators, streams, people that make guides, people that analyze games, make VODs, new casters, something to get all the information in one place. So I don't know what it's like in SEA, but in the ANZ region, it's terrible to look up this information. You have to go to the ANZ forums, you have to check out Reddit, there's a couple of Facebook groups, there's a couple of different websites, and by the time you correlate all the information, you still don't know what's going on in the region. It's after 10 weeks of this little podcast, I thought I was doing a pretty good job of sort of selling it to people or marketing it to people. And I still have people going saying, "What? We've got I got a show in Australia, in the ANZ region. Wow!" It's like, oh, I guess I'm doing a terrible job in that regards. But so anyway, so I've been working on a community website, and I'd like to say that it's launched as of today, as of right now. You can go to anzheroes.com and check out a little bit of the work. And we clicked on the wrong thing there. Oh, hang on, something's gone wrong in my show notes. All right, I did have it originally as a screen to show you guys. Oh, there it is. It did load eventually.
I'm hurt. You were sharing with me a little bit of your secrets last night, but you didn't tell me the site was up.
It's up. You can go to it now. It's a bit bare. It's barren at the moment, right? I didn't make this website to be This Concur is going to tell the world all about the ANZ region, because I'm just one person, and I mean, let's face it, I'm not very smart. So, but what it is a site that people can go to, and if you have a team, you can register your team on the site, and other people can view your team, can view your details. If you want to submit a video you made on YouTube, did my thing die? Sorry, I'm just waiting. I think my XSplit may have bunged out. All right. Yeah, it's bunged out. Sorry. And sorry, bit of technical difficulty. Sorry. Let me. So the stream's still running, but I recently upgraded. And did it come back? Oh, please tell me that came back. Oh, cool! It came back. Thank God. I'm happy. Happy. It's all good. All good. I upgraded to Windows 10, and it's been a nightmare for all my VOD stuff. All Heroes of the Storm content creations just died in the backside. I've been trying to upload 100 gigs worth of VODs from the Brawl and another tournament we did a couple of weeks ago, and every night my computer crashes in the middle of the upload. It's just so painful.
Hey.
All right.
It looks like a great site, man.
Yeah, it looks good so far.
I like that you have events calendar. I think that's really important. It's really good.
That's it. I want people to submit stuff. Give me stuff. I've got team site. I put 5 teams up on there at the moment because they're involved in the weekly league that we're starting up in the next week or so. They're kind of barren. It says the team name and the players. Tell me about your team. Let me put information up on there for you. Send me content if you're a content creator, if you're a streamer, if you're an analyst, a VOD maker, whatever. Send us the information. I've got a submit page where you can submit details about it. And I just want a central point. Every day I'm going to try and put one thing up, but if people contribute to it, it can be a lot. It can be way more. So that's the idea. Hopefully you guys like it, enjoy it, go ahead. And it's about sharing information. I mean, if enough people start developing content about how they're playing and what their team's doing, who knows? I mean, it might be a great thing for the... we could do an SEAheroes.com.
We have a website, I think, for SEA, but it's not or esportsy and all. Yep. So yeah, I mean, if you have information you want to put on SEA on the website, sure, why not? It's always good to have abundance of information and a lack of it. So go ahead, man.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. I'll link to it. But yeah, that is ANZ Hero, guys. So go ahead, have a read. It's barren at the moment, but go to the Contact Us section and you can submit content, submit your team, and there's a little bit about supporting the page. But content and send suggestions. Click on the Contact Us if you think, man, would it be really cool if we had a way that we could look for members, just general people playing. Let me know. Maybe I can get a widget for the site. I mean, give me ideas. It is the community's website, not Disconcur's website. All right, so sorry, just jumping the gun there. I thought I'd bring that up. Going back, so we've got 2 great events. So originally we've only had a Happy Rage organising events in the ANZ region, but we've also got another gentleman named of Morton, Daniel Morton. He's been running some awesome events down the ANZ Brawl, ANZ Royal Rumble, which is a solo sign-up tournament. We've got one of those happening again. You don't need a team, you just sign up, and on the day you get put in a team. And they're skill-based team, they're skill-based teams as well. So it tries to spread out the good players with the developing players. And so Morton is doing another one of those. Just grab the details. Where is it? I had it up a second ago and then I scrolled away from it. Alright, I had the details, but I've lost them by mistake. Oh, sorry, low production values here. I apologise. But there's another one of those happening. Maybe there's not a date set just yet, but I think it's coming end of next month, possibly, or in September. Check that out. And also, Morton's doing an ANZ Showdown. Now, what's really cool about this is that it is just your general team tournament, double elimination, best of 1 with a best of 3 grand final and semi-finals. But they're trying to make it a prize event. As you know, it's going to be a very, very small prize event, but still a prize event in a growing scene is a great addition to have. And it's not a team funded prize. It's not the teams having to put in money to be a part of the event. It's an actual it looks like it might be a donation from a community member towards it. I think that's going to be really cool. I'm really excited for that. That is on the 24th of October. Streaming information still coming, and sign-ups are 22nd of October. and I'll post the link so you guys can go check that one out. In the chat. And what are you guys thinking of the two events coming up? The ANZ Royal Rumble Mark II, a second one, and the ANZ Showdown. Do you think they're good for the scene, or do you think they're sort of just just throwaway tournaments? What are you guys' thoughts? I get yours, Cruven, because I get yours first because you got really good opinions on this sort of stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, more competitions means more content, so it's always really, really good to see. Like I said, we're not 100% sure yet whether or not we'll be participating, just because it's hard with Kangorth. We're thinking maybe just prioritizing the weeklies, and then he can take work off, so he can be well rested for, say, something of the equivalent of the ANZ qualifiers and the ANZ finals. So he's playing at 100% because it's kind of rough for him to be able to play, and it's a disservice to our team because they're not playing at our 100% potential. But yeah, I mean, like it is really, really good for the scene. If I don't end up playing, then I'll be shoutcasting, which is always really good. It's lots of fun.
Oh, awesome! Is that confirmed? So you talked to.
Well, I mean, it's not confirmed. It's something we still haven't decided completely as a team.
Got to put
I mean, the other issue too is that it's also Kangor's birthday on the day of the ANZ Showdown, and his partner's flying into the state to see him. So she's probably not going to appreciate him playing video games all day on his birthday when she's paid to fly down and see him.
But it's a paid event. If you guys win, that's a pretty good dinner.
Yeah, I don't know. We work.
All right, I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's a great game, more events out here. I've got a little competitive team that we might even enter it just for fun and experience. It's but no, that's really cool. I think it's great that we've gone from one event a month to now we've had like three or four events a month. It's so good. And where are we going to go on to next? All right, talking about weeklies as well. So we've been talked about this for a while in our ANZ scene, about a weekly league, and we've talked about it, we've discussed it, we've thrown rules around together. I mean, we had a huge show a couple of weeks ago where there was 9 of us on talking about what we need to do to make the region grow and make it a bigger game, and weeklies was a huge thing that came out of it. And so through all that work, thoughts, ideas and opinions, it looks like starting next week, as far as I'm aware, XL5 in collaboration with Happy Rage from XL5 will be running a weekly tournament, and we're not just running one weekly tournament, but we'll be running two weekly events, offset sort of 2 weeks apart from each other. But we're going to have a round robin competition for the more competitive teams in the scene, the teams that really they don't care who they go up against, they just really want to fight, mediocre to high to low team. It gives them a variety of challenges. But then for the developing teams, not to get a thwomp by XL5, Team Immunity, and then Apex, and then Phonetic Array week after week after week, we actually also have a Swiss weekly league going on. So teams of similar win-loss ratios will actually get to play against each other. And once you finally have, say, proven or learnt the ropes, you actually then start to get pushed up into higher skilled opponents. What do you guys think of that? Have you had a look at the weeklies? I know Happy Rage has been pushing him on the forums a little bit this week. Guys, excited?
Yeah, besides a few spelling mistakes in the rule set that was getting spammed into the ANZ chat, yeah, it's I'm pretty happy with it. It looks good, looks solid.
Yeah.
I guess we'll just have to see how it starts playing out. There'll probably be things that might need to be tweaked here and there, but like it's better to just get started and do it on the run rather than just try and get everything perfect the first time. It's also a great opportunity for a lot of teams. There was like 3 or 4 teams that have just formed recently.
Yeah.
So it's a great opportunity for them to start practicing, getting into the game. We have a lot of things to work on as a team, so it's great to have those guaranteed games every week because sometimes we'll log in and there'll be no one available for the night to scrim at all.
Yeah. Yeah, we could sort of not force people to scrim. That's a terrible word. How did anyone say it like that? But it's going to give teams. Like I think you brought up before, Babel, when you're talking about scrimming. It's a scrim may not necessarily be about winning. It might be about trying something, being a little bit in a different position, and it doesn't work well. But putting in a weekly league aspect which may continue towards something. Because we're actually building ladders from this as well. It's the better your team does in the weekly leagues, it's going to reflect on a regional ladder, a round robin ladder, and a Swiss ladder. So it's give teams a little bit more. What's the word? Like, is it not motivation?
Incentive and drive.
That's it. Incentive to be good in these weeklies. But it's kind of like a bridge between your scrims and day events or night events.
I also think the weekly events will also help kind of glue teams together, because if you got kind of monthly tournaments even longer, after you may not do so well, or you may get frustrated, and then the team will disband because they haven't got anything to work towards for quite a long time. Whereas if you've got weekly tournaments, then if you do play real well or you don't, or you can still go over the replays, look at, kind of analyze where you went wrong, what was strong, what was weak, and then you've got a week till you can give it another whirl.
And it gives you replays as well to watch and go, you know what, we won a couple of games and then we came up against Apex and man, they completely owned us. Now you've got a replay of Apex fighting you. You're like, well, how did Apex stop us from doing what we wanted to do? I mean, it's just really cool. It's Shy. It's been a bit quiet for a while. Hopefully you're still there. What are your thoughts on the weeklies? Being a bit shy in the corner there. I haven't even thought about it. There's so much other stuff going on.
Yeah. Weeklies are cool. What's like the format?
So it's over a fortnightly period. So 1 week will be Swiss, which is winners play winners, losers play losers is the easiest way to present it. And then the week after that's a round robin, so everyone plays everyone. So 1 week it'll be, whoever's doing the best in the tournament at the moment will be playing each other, and the people that are doing so well play each other. Then you can, and then the week after that, you could have immunity play against the Sharks.
Okay. How many games would we be playing a week?
1 game a week, best of 3.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's way better than like what we've been doing lately.
And
I think that'll get like more sort of random teams motivated to start playing and like prove themselves against the higher teams. Well, is there going to be like obviously there's going to be a standings, right? So like when teams can so when teams can like physically see standings and like the motivation to be the best is there, I think there'll be a lot more movement and a lot more movement amongst the ANZ players to form teams and actually compete. Whereas now it's sort of like, there's one monthly brawl, and like a lot of these players don't want to form teams to scrim the higher teams because they sort of think, what's the point? So
it's also a single limit at the moment too, so you can rock up on the day, get knocked out at 10 in the morning, and then you're done for the rest of the day.
Yeah, you don't have to commit an entire Saturday, right?
Yeah. One of the other good things that Babel brought up before, which was scene education. One of the things that that's been done for the weeklies is that captains have to upload replays, and then those replays get put into a pack and then released at the end of the weekly, like the round. So that'll be like the end of the fortnight. So every game that gets played, there'll be a replay for that, so you can watch your opponents and how they played, how you played. So I think it's going to be really good for the scene, because at the moment it's really hard if you're not scrimming another team, like say X5. You don't know how they're playing, how they're prioritizing their drafts. With the weeklies, you'll be able to see how everyone's performing week to week, what they're prioritizing in their drafts, what the style that they're favoring in their play, whether it's a roam game, like roam comp, or a push orientated one.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be really cool as well, because we've always talked in the scene, we've said, Skimmy from XL5 is great, and Arcane is great. If you ask them for replays, they'll probably give you some replays. They're pretty good people, but you get that thing of sometimes a smaller person doesn't know how to approach Skimmy. Like, what, can I just say hi, Skimmy? Can I have some replays? It's a bit daunting. We're giving people a pack where it removes that personal interaction element. It just gives people a chance just to watch the stuff and check it out on their own accord. It's I think it's gonna be great, and we got so many shoutcasters coming up in the scene as well. It's going to start creating hopefully a lot more VODs on YouTube of these games as well. That's what I hope comes out of it. A lot of content creation as well. So that is the weekly. Does anyone else have any opinions on the weeklies after hearing about it? Might be some people's first time hearing it. I just generally think it's going to be a great thing for the scene. I think it's definitely the way forward for us, and it's just going to really start propelling those new teams up to a better skill level. So some of these day tournaments or monthly tournaments aren't so one-sided. Aren't so the juggernauts thumping on the ants. All right, so that is the weeklies. We've already introduced the community website, so we can skip that. And that's all the super interesting stuff happening in the ANZ scene at the moment. So, Babe, you already hinted to a cool thing coming up for the SEA scene. Is there anything else you may want to bring up for SEA? Anything they're doing?
Yeah, we've got a lot of tournaments in Thailand, I think, specifically Thailand. But these are all local tournaments. Singapore, there is a community cup happening on the 10th, I think. Yeah, 10th of October.
Yep.
So that is sponsored by Nvidia and Gigabyte and what's that? Graphics cards will be up for grabs. And we're also doing an announcement on the 10th of October for the next, or rather the finishing league for all of SEA for this year. And we also have some really interesting stuff planned out for everyone in SEA. But specifically, it's going to be SG centric, the stuff that we have for now. Malaysia's going to have some stuff as well. Philippines, they are kind of off to do their own second league as well towards, I think, October. But I think that for now, Southeast Asia is really not having a lot of tournaments. And to really finish off the point here, you guys think that in ANZ, you have these small tournaments, and it's really important that you guys got all of these community-ran tournaments, going strong. But in SEA, what we don't have is a very active community. So the people here, they just go to an event if there's an event. If nobody does an event, then there's no event. They don't take the initiative to do events like this. Yeah. And it could be because that the region is split up across different languages, and it's hard to get anything mid-size going when you have stuff like that going on. So that could be the main reason why. But yeah, so when I heard you guys go weeklies, damn, that's good. Why don't we have stuff like that here? Huh? Makes me wonder, but yeah, it's great. That's the way forward for SEA. I know we've got some really big plans for 2016. So I cannot wait to share that with you guys. But apparently, we're not ready to announce that yet.
Too easy.
And yep, when we get that confirmed, we're gonna talk about that. But yep, that's about it for SEA for now.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that I'll have to get you on for another show later down the track so you can announce it.
I think so. Yeah, it has to be a bit closer to the dates.
Yeah.
Because, things are not confirmed, sponsors not confirmed, price pool not confirmed. There's no point saying, guys, I got all this planned out. Right, what's the money on the line? Not so sure if there's actually going to be real money this stage. Yeah, it doesn't sound so good. So
$2.50 and all the teams get a bus ride to the venue.
just pay them in Dogecoin.
Yep, well, pay them in skins, I guess, but that's about it, right? So that's all I have for SEA for now.
Not too easy. And that's it for our news section. All the cool stuff's going on. We got 2 discussion topics I want to get into tonight. I'm just looking at the time, and I think we might skip the first one because we've already talked a little bit about shoutcasting, Babel, just with you're shoutcasting over in North America, and I think we just sort of brought up little bits and pieces behind it. I might just quickly ask some questions, very quick questions. So, as as one of the biggest shoutcasters in this sort of oceanic region down here, what do you think are some really important skills for developing shoutcasters?
Important skills. Okay. I guess that this game you don't want to shoutcast hype per se. You look at Testosis and the backlash from community is really strong.
Yeah.
They're really good casters, don't get me wrong. I just think that they need time to play the game a little bit more. And and they know that. They have improved a lot. They know that. Yeah. They know that. I spoke to them and they know that. So it's important to get the game knowledge. That's the first thing you need to have. The game knowledge. Then the second thing that you need to do as a shoutcaster is to work on the hype. There is no space in this game for a caster that focus on insights only or on play-by-play only. I think that because of the way the fights happen, it's too rampant. You know, right off the air horn, the game begins, and you have like 5v5s. What is happening, man? So no time to really talk about insights per se for one guy because he's gonna get cut off half the time, and by the time you're done establishing a point, it's the next fight. No time also to just be a play-by-play because there will be down times, and you don't want to have those spaces left there. You don't want to be like a guy who can sell the game well, but you don't know anything about the game, right? So that's that. So the first thing you should do is to beef up on the information of the game. Remember all of those talent names, and yes, you have to remember every single talent names in every single level for all 41 characters in this game. So that is the first thing you need to do to really get into shoutcasting. After that, you will then work on your style. Style is something that comes a long time. It gets better over the years. It gets better when you know what you want to do, what's the direction you want to have in terms of creative direction, as well as the style you wanna portray. So these are the first few points as a shoutcaster.
Cool. Awesome. All right, and so just going on that, so talking about getting the skill and knowledge of the game and stuff. Talking about you can't be just just focused in one area. How do you? So sort of already asked this. I was going to ask how important is it? This drive casting. How during a fight, what's important? And then between fights, what's important? You kind of already covered that a little bit. But how do you approach a fight? So a team fight breaks out. Are you trying to are you trying to cast everything that happens, or how do you go? Okay, Jane has popped a Ring of Frost, but this has happened. How do you know? Is that just knowledge of what's more important to talk about? And if you don't capture the Ring of Frost, but then something else follows on, like how do you determine what's important in a team fight to talk about?
Well, I guess that comes with knowledge. Really, it does. The important point here is when you're looking at a fight develop in front of your eyes, and you just know that that certain skills are important. Like example, ancestral healing. That's a big one. You miss that, team's done, game's over. Fight's done. You have to pull back. The other one is Ring of Frost. Ring of Frost sets up the fight, but it doesn't do enough damage, so you need to have a big follow up. You are looking towards stuff like Flame Strike probably for extra damage, Blizzard. Those are basic attacks, and it's kind of hard to miss. But for me, what's important in a fight, the way I handle fights is I describe the action. I describe the action because you never know when a setup is perfect. Murden jumps in using Dwarf Toss. He throws out Stun Bolts, connects on 2 targets, and then what? If you don't call out that stun on 2 targets, and it becomes a big fight, doesn't feel good. If you call that out and it doesn't become a big fight, it's still okay. So I tend to focus on those small little plays that players make. Example, Dreadnought using Protective Shield on a target, making sure that he could have the space to get those heals. Those are plays that people often miss. And as a shoutcaster, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you describe these plays and you point out what won the fight. What win them the fight. Generally, if I'm casting with Jake or if I'm casting with Gilly Jake and Gilly specifically, they will look at this stuff and they will say what won the fight. For Kubi, he does a very, very good overall picture into the whole game, how it develops. That he doesn't even need to say what makes that fight good for a team. He just talks about it in general, and it's more than enough content to create the hype there. So focus on the skills in every single fight, and you wanna. I know there's a bit of a divide when it comes to this kind of take on casting, because some casters would say, but this is like video, and your audio doesn't need to say everything that's on the screen. You just have to say what's important, what do you think's happening. The other casters will be like me, saying that it's good to say and pronounce everything that's on the screen, because people may not always be watching, right? And you want to bring the hype on. So I guess this caters to 2 different type of viewers. The former caters to people who looks at insights. The later caters to people who are looking to enjoy the casuals. And the hardcore people knows that, hey, it's just one takedown. Why are you screaming? The fact that it's one takedown is that you're gonna look at a takedown and go, all right, I'm trying to make the game look good. I'm trying to make the game exciting. So if I'm screaming about one takedown, if it's 5 takedown, as long as it's a skill level of hype, that's good. But if you're on the same level of hype for 1 kill and 5 kills, then something is wrong. So that's the comeback there. Personally, I'm kind of like the later kind of group of people where we think that it's important to make the game look interesting to people who don't play the game. So that's what hype is about, and yeah, that's what I would commit to when it comes to fighting in a game itself.
All right, so you're talking very much on talk about the skills during a fight. I think that's a big thing you kept coming back to. Talk about the skills. Talk about would you say, because I remember you said talk about the double stun going out from say like something like Muradin, and then if you don't say that and then the fight does engage into something, so that's sort of like almost talking about like the skills of the start of a fight, what caused that fight in the first place, or what may have caused the potential engagement. And then that's where in the middle you've really got to go, right, what skills are progressing this fight, or what pushing this fight along. And how do you end it? I know you said, talk about the hype. The level of hype for 1 kill isn't the same as the level of hype for a massive kill. And, Kruven, you were so annoying. Spent all that time messing with that. So I sort of didn't catch a little bit because I was trying to fix the screen. What about that end bit? Like, how do you know a fight's ended, and how do you come off that sort of level of hype? Like, what's the best way? We had an issue, not an issue. It's I remember watching some casting, and there was always this ramp up, ramp down, and every single engagement you could go, right, caster's going to ramp up, he ramps up, gets to the middle of the fight, and then starts ramping down. It was a very repetitive, and it just got it almost very monotone in a sense. That's what I'm just wondering, like, how is that just the I'm not 100% sure what I'm saying now. I've lost words. But how do you end an engagement in an exciting way, or in a casting way, or an interesting way? Or is that just really it's just an experience thing, or it's just you just over time learn that sort of ideal?
First of all, I think you have to be aware of, if it's a problem, if people are telling you that, okay, you're ending fights halfway through the fight, you sound like the fight's over, then people will be like, then the cast will go, oh, really? It's important to review your cast always, because then you know how to improve. And over time, you learn how to do things. It becomes a natural. There is that standard few tactics to go about this, but the biggest thing to really set it up straight is if you're aware of it. You will not improve if you don't know what you're doing wrong. So what I find is important is for feedback. I always look for feedback, and it is a skill to filter through, trashy feedback and constructive feedback, because people, they hate on you sometimes and they're not saying things that matter. You have to look at it objectively and say, all right, I'm not going to look weak. I'm just here to improve myself. And even now, I'm looking to improve my cast along the way. So in terms of ending of the fight, to answer your question, it really differs if you are a solo or duo caster. If you're a solo caster, the way I do it is I will actually finish off the fight in a very hype manner, and then I will pull it back down immediately to insight. So I'll cut to insights immediately and try and not slow down the words. I mean, it's quite technical, so I'm not sure if people want to hear this, but you don't slow down the words as quickly. You don't drop. You don't for example, you don't go and say, Son of the Big Lip goes in with Ruffle the Berserker as well, connecting on 2 targets. Then next up, you have ETC with Mosh Pit connecting on 4. What a wipe it is. Sylvanas with the Wailing Arrow kills everyone in complexity. What a takedown. You slow down towards the end. You don't go like, all right, so you have the Mosh Pit connecting on 4 targets and Wailing Arrow connects on 2.
Yeah.
You don't kill yourself. You just go up and up and up and up and up, and then you just cut down the insights. And when you start to cut out the insights, if you feel the game, if you're excited for the game, you will be able to get the groove going. And I think this is something that comes with a lot of practice, because some casters, they have difficulties with with getting excited. Then you have the other casters who got difficulty with getting not excited. they're just too explosive over every single thing. Then that could be a problem. So regardless, it's it just comes with practice, a lot of practice, and it also will help if you have people who review your cast, people who you trust review your cast. For me, I review it with my girlfriend and with my friends, good friends, and they will tell me like, all right, this is not so good here, and it's important to have people give you feedback, people you can trust, and yourself. It's important. Dual casting, man, you're gonna rely on your partner for that.
Yeah.
Because I relied on all my partner when I'm in the NA. I know they're gonna cover me. Some of them they drop to a level quite low, but you can see that that's their style. So they are very used to dropping their low. That it doesn't feel awkward. So it's a compliment between two casters when you do this kind of shoutcasting. It is really about the chemistry, about the practice, and the trust you have in each other.
Yeah. Oh, awesome! That's very, very insightful. It's I was asking those sort of questions because we're starting to have a little bit of an explosion of people in ANZ scene who want to get into casting, who want to do casting. I joked to some of my friends like, oh, we're going to have more casters than players soon down the track. But I know one thing that you just said just then is something, because I've done a little bit of casting, and I am 100% guilty of that. I'm terrible for it. And it's just because it's I've never I don't think it's for a lot of casters. There's no resource. Well, as maybe for someone being me, there's heaps of resources out there. Probably is. There's not a lot of resources for us to learn how to cast. So I thought, we've got an amazing caster on the show, let's ask the questions.
Right.
And you're right, you are an amazing caster, and that's amazing advice.
Thanks for saying that. I mean, I'm humbled by the support community has given me. When Shai came to me in Americas, now that he's gone, I can say this. This is great. When Shai came up to me in the America Championship, he was saying that ANZ supported me a lot. Robadoba was the other player as well.
Yeah.
And Nay, Sashin, basically the whole team was there, and Team Immunity came to me and they said that we really enjoy the things you do. And I cannot thank them enough for that, because stuff like that, they keep me going. But to answer the question on how to really improve, you have to first copy to improve, I feel. The best way to improve is to reference really good world-class casters and how they do things. You study them, you're looking at their style, and you say, okay, this is how he does it. There's a specific tempo when he's casting a fight and how it feels like. You don't have to... Okay, so what I do, I'm going to share this. What I do is I review some of the best casters in the world. I'm not going to say who, but I review them. And I watch their cast. I close my eyes. I don't look at the game. You don't look at the game. You just listen to them. The way they describe the action, there is a tempo to that. You want to mimic that tempo, because that tempo is what fundamentally forms your style and the pace in which you go into an engagement. So for me, I've learned 2 to 3 different tempos, and depending on the way the fight happens, I will jump into a particular tempo so that it matches the pacing of that fight. And after a while, you can mash 2 styles and it becomes flexible, because you know how to describe the fight. This is something that's important, because casters, they may not know how to particularly tempo up a fight. Let's say the fight's like you have small skill shot, small skill shot, small skill shot, and then one big mosh pit, right? How are you gonna tempo that one up? Most casters go like, oh, it's a fight. Then you just escalate so high that this is you all the way. Yeah. That's not correct, right? You wanna go like small tempo, all right? You don't wanna be there, say stuff like that. Stumbled on 2 targets. This is the setup, and then the next thing, the voice escalates and the breathing kind of follows the tempo. You want to relay that story of a good small setup and a big forward-man mosh pit. And then you start going all the way to the core. You just go ham on the casting when you have the mosh pit. And you look at it. Is it a good mosh pit? You have to make those snap decisions very quickly. So that's how I do it. I reference tempo, and I really just breathe how the fight happened. Obviously, this didn't really work out in the America Championship, because I was trying to put across my tempo, but the crowd was just like, whoa! One man stun. Wow, really, guys? Yeah, that's not like even a great setup, but okay, I'll take that anyway. So, and for information, I could hear the crowd, even though I have like white noise in my headset. It was just so loud
Yeah.
that you are trying to say it's a good ramp up, it's a good ramp up, but the next thing you know, you find yourself screaming because they're screaming,
Yeah.
and it's human. They scream, you scream,
Yeah.
they scream even louder. Oh God.
Yeah,
It
the
was.
energy builds up and it just gets more massive, more grand.
You're right. And
Oh, awesome.
on stream, I don't know if you guys feel this. You could hear the crowd, and you
Yeah.
could hear that my volume is a little bit lower compared to Jake or Kubi. And the main reason for that is I have a big voice. I have a very loud voice, and if I'm screaming to the headset, the poor sound guy has to like lower me to a level that I sound normal and
Yeah.
audible. But I was screaming so loud that I just casted like what 2 matches a day, and I fell asleep after that. So it's like immediately battery drain and everything. But that's something I have to work on. I've got to work on my volume. It's starting to become a bit of a problem for me. I'm a little bit too loud compared to the rest of the guys there. But yeah, there's that. I mean, if you're in a live audience, trust me, the feeling you would have gotten from live and online is 120% different. Because these guys are insane and they can barely hear me because they're so loud. So if I'm telling you they can hear me,
Yeah.
you can imagine the volume I'm at. Yeah, so that's that. That's what I can say for now. Reference good casters. Don't copy them. The words they say. Don't do that because some casters they got signature lines,
Yeah.
and you know that a community will hate you when you start copying those signature lines. It's like if somebody takes my Boom Baby, I will be like, that's cool. But community is like, why are you trying to be available? You're not available.
Yeah.
You have to be innovative in that department. But what you can copy is the tempo. The pacing, the way he handles a fight, the way he talks about insights. Insights, well, you're going to have to study the game to really have them. You can't really copy that. But yeah, what I'm trying to tell you here is that there are certain things you can take away from good casters. And I'm not even saying myself. I'm really not that good. I'm talking about world-class casters, people who have really made it, people like Tastosis. You want to study hype, you study Tasteless. I know it's a little bit hard because he is, okay, in fact, he's not really doing hype in Heroes yet because he's not comfortable with his skill names and everything. But once he gets there, this guy will be the defining figure for hype. And it's because of his experience, the way he does things. If you look at StarCraft, he has that. Tasteless is a little bit hard to follow because StarCraft casting is very different from Heroes casting. So you have to, unfortunately, reference some of the other mobile genres, renowned casters. You probably know who I'm talking about at this stage. For me, in the hero scene, it's so new that I think everyone is still figuring stuff up. Jake's a great caster, Kubi's a great caster, Gilly as well, but they are all still figuring out a particular style. So it's very hard to copy a tempo from a caster that has not figured out his signature style of casting. For me, man, don't study me, man. I am so flexible that I would consider every single style as a weapon of choice. And you could probably infer a little bit from me, but I'm really not that good, I think. So I don't know. It's just me being me, and I am a perfectionist. I am. So
Chat seemed to
when
disagree with you. At the start, they were saying how much they loved your casting during the tournament. So
yeah, well,
yeah,
you're definitely a loved caster. I mean, if anything, people love your casting.
People give me way too much credit for I deserve, I feel. Or maybe it's just me being a perfectionist, but I really want to keep improving myself and keep going for that. So that's something that's important to note. But if you want to study me, go ahead. Let me know what you find if you study me, because I may not know what I'm doing right and wrong. And I'm just saying that I'm very much human, just like you guys, and I'm not, completely correct in everything. I make mistakes. I made a mistake in which I said Muradin was from an enemy team when he's actually from like the red team, and God, those are mistakes you don't make. And it kind of just kills you the moment you do stuff like that. But yeah, it's been a fun experience, and I think that to all of those guys out there who really wants to be a shoutcaster, the first thing you gotta know is that you can't go into this job thinking that you're gonna be the best in the industry. Unfortunately, that is not the right direction. You cast because you love casting a game because you love talking about games and you love the game. You really want to go in there and say and call those big plays and live in the moment and just spread that passion. That's all the reason you need to cast. It's not like I didn't start casting thinking that I'm gonna be a best caster in the world. No, my first reason, I've said this in many interviews, but my first reason for being a caster was the guy who was doing the game that I was previously in love with.
Yeah.
It's Heroes of New Earth, by the way. I came from that community.
Oh,
He did such a bad job that
Yeah.
I was telling myself I could close both my eyes, know zero thing about the game, and make the game sound so much better. So it was kind of bad. But ultimately, he became my partner after a while, and I told him, "You got so much more to work with," and I shared with him. I came from a speech background, that's why, and I love games, so I did that. After that, it became my mission to prove that Southeast Asians, although we got bad English, we Singaporeans specifically, we are not really renowned for having an accent and stuff like that. I want to at least show that I can cast on the world stage. So it's not like it's my drive is not to be the best guy, but to be on the biggest stage at least once to prove to the world that hey, Singaporeans, we're not that bad with English. I'm not that bad with English. Yes, I sound Spanish when I go a little bit too fast, but that's me. That's my style right there. And that's just my goal. So I don't know what I'm going to do after I hit that goal. It's something I have to evaluate. Many things have happened along the way, but this is a goal I set out to years ago. And casting for Babel didn't happen 3 months ago, guys. It happened 2 years ago. So you have to be ready for that grind. The grind of having pay worse than McDonald's flipping burger pay. You know, maybe not even getting paid half the time and doing things because you love doing it. So it's really about having the passion for the things you do and going into it and telling yourself that, you know, you're just doing whatever you can. I find that people who say, I'm going to give this 6 months of trying, completely unrealistic. Not everyone's a gillyweed. She's naturally talented. She is in the right place at the right time. She is fantastic person to cast with. So, and she just started casting 6 months back. So even before that, she's been doing podcasts for the last 2 years. Or something like that. Everyone starts somewhere really small and humble. And you have to go into, you know, casting and thinking, all right, I'm going to cover events because they need a voice on the screen so that, you know, the game looks good. And I want my game to look good. I want the game I play to look so good to the people who don't play my game that they join the game at the end of the day. That's the first reason why, and you stick to that. So that at no point in time should you ever tell yourself that I'm comparing myself to this caster. No, I don't do that. I have said this before to a lot of people in the background, but I've never really said it in front. But to me, I never compare myself with Jake, with Kubi, with Tasteless, with Artosis, with Gilly. I've never done that because I don't believe in that. I believe that casting is a show between two people, and you're gonna have to go and compliment the other guy and not try and outshine the other guy. That is something that a lot of people don't understand. There is no point comparing. There is no point competing. At the end of the day, what we are all fighting for is, you know, a good stream, a good guy on Twitch that makes it looks better than normal sports. That's all we are trying to fight for as part of the bigger esports community. For me, I'm fighting for Singapore, fighting for SEA. But if I don't get to where I want to go, it's not like I'm going to stop doing it. I'm still going to continue doing it because I love the game. And there is no point comparing it at the end of the day. You can be a world-class caster getting paid like 5 digits per gig. You know, it has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with me unless I'm casting with you and I'm like, okay, how can we make this work? That is the attitude I want to bring to it, because I know people in, you know, you were saying, Disco, that there's a lot of people in ENZ that's starting to cast, and there might be a bit of comparison along the way. Community will compare. Let them do the comparison. You don't do the comparison. You look at it and say, I don't deserve to be anywhere that I don't want to be. And if you want to be at the America Championship like me, to be very honest with you, I don't think I deserve to be there, to cast there. I don't think that, you know, my diction is perfect. I have so many things I got to work on, but I'm there and I'm really happy to be there. but you don't go and say that this guy, if you're a caster, you're going to go and say this other caster don't deserve to be there, and you're way better than him. That is a really toxic way to look at this.
Yeah.
And the only thing I really want to spread is the last thing actually is that casting is like a game of pool. You know, that night, that 8-ball thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You do your job, and if you're really good at what you do, it's all that matters at the end of the day, because your competitors, if you will, competitors or partners. I prefer looking at it as partners. they have to focus on their own game.
Yeah.
So it really is just about you doing what you do, and that's all. So I've said too much, but
yeah, don't worry. No, it's really interesting stuff. I mean, people don't look at that element. Look at that element or that side of it. It's people are always so focused on the competition between the players themselves. I mean, there's all these little details that that get missed out, or people don't know, or never get shared. So, no, thank you very much for sharing it all. It's so amazingly insightful, and I know there's a lot of casters coming up in the scene. I myself, I'm very interested in getting into casting. I've done a lot of work, but I am. You think you've got a lot of room to improve, mate? I am terrible. I am shocking. I'm dumb. I'm what they find in the discount bar and basement over at Fast Freddy's on a Friday night. But it's no. Thank you very much for the show. You've been incredibly insightful. Thank you very much as well, Blue. It's we've been the surviving members of Podcast 10.
I've had a great time as usual, but it was a pleasure jumping on here with Babel as well. Thanks for coming. And you said that you didn't think that you were, I don't know, quote for quote, but whether or not you were worthy to be shoutcasting there, but we all loved you, and for someone to recognise and see you and point you out and go, hey, can you come do this? That, I think, in itself shows that you are worthy. So, yeah, you've got a lot of love from us down under, and people are looking at you and thinking you're amazing. So, yeah, even though you do feel like you're a bit of a perfectionist and notice that, it doesn't matter too much, because you can be rest assured that people love your work. So.
People want to see more from you. Basically, I mean, that's it. It's you wouldn't. You said it yourself. You said, you don't say that guy doesn't deserve to be here. Well, you could say a little bit about yourself. You definitely deserve to be there. Everyone loved your cast. I remember watching the chat, and obviously the internet's a magical and wonderful place, and the chat fired up, and I thought, oh, here we go, all right. And at the start of your first cast, people were a bit, let's say, assholes. People were starting to be a little bit of assholes. But towards the end of it, I mean, they were like, oh wow, man, this guy's really good, and they're really cheering on the team, cheering on your casting, and we're really enjoying it. So, you know what, that is perfection in my book. Is taking a crowd. I mean, it's the internet crowd, right? I'm sure the crowd at the event were amazing, but if you can win over the internet crowd, you're on the right path. If you're not there, you are definitely on the right path. So, but anyway,
Guys.
No worries. Well, that is episode 10. Can you believe it? Episode 10 of Heroes Untapped. I can't believe it's already at double digits. But anyway, so I'll do a quick, if you can follow Shy on Twitter to do a bit of shout out. Shy on Twitter, he's _Shy. Twitter if you want to check out more stuff from him. Cruven, I don't know if Cruven has a Twitter account, but I'm pretty sure he obviously does have a Battle.net account. And so you could follow him at Cruven #. I'll have to see if I get his number. I'm not sure if it had it on reference, because he was going to be here to say his own Battle.net number. All right.
Yeah.
All right, so Cruven, if you want to talk more to Cruven, or you're interested in getting scrims happening with Apex, you obviously talk to Arcana, probably, but you also talk to Cruven on Cruven #6900. And Blue, what about yourself? Where can we talk more to you? Obviously, you write for XL5, so people can get more insights from Blue or from XL5.com. Sort of.
Got a new article that we're just about to post, just about the performance, player performance in MOBAs, so kind of covering some things that you can work on, some things that'll help improve your play and stuff like that, which I've had a couple of people from the community have a read, and they said it was a bit of a good read, so that'll be up soon if you swing by the X5 website. But I've been streaming a little bit more recently, so you can check me out on Twitch as well. Otherwise just hit me up in game, same as usual. And yeah, even if you see me in like the ANZ servers, the TeamSpeak servers, just message me. Always happy to chat.
Too easy. And Babel, another big thank you for being on the show tonight. I know it's probably been a big day for you. I think you just flew in today, wasn't it?
Yeah. I landed I think about 18 hours ago, but I woke up. I'm recovered. I'm good. But thanks for having me, guys. This is Heroes Untapped, and I think this is a great show already. I really appreciate the work done here for the ENZ community. It's really it's something that people don't really give credit to, but at the very end of the day, the community is really important because you want to have people like this doing shows like this. It's not about the numbers; it's about the passion for the game. So really, really happy to have you guys, have me here as well. If you'd like to follow me, my Twitter account is brand new. As of now, I think it's about 1 month old, Twitter account. It's at Babelcast, BABAELCAST. It's just the same handle I have on the Twitch as well as the same on Facebook, fb.com/Babelcast right there. Yeah. Thank you very much for having me, guys. Very happy to be here.
No worries. It's great having you here. And guys, I'm Disconcur. You can check me out on everything that has the phrase Disconcur in it. Pretty much. You go Google Disconcur, I come up on everything except the first result. But at Disconcur is my Twitch, guys. So thanks very much for everyone in chat. It's been excellent. Thanks everyone for viewing and watching. And I hope everyone has a great time in the Nexus.